I've been back on KDE Plasma since the launch of 6.7, and I want to give my general impressions, general thoughts of the project, but after having used it with this version for a couple of weeks. And then I kind of forgot. And the main reason I forgot is it's been really good. I've had nothing major to really complain about. It's been very, very comfy. Yes, there have been some issues. Yes, there are still some things I'd like to see changed or features I'd like to see added. But overall, the TLDR is I'm quite happy with the state of the project right now, and I've not been doing scrolling with Carousel. I've not been doing tiling with Cronkite. I've been using a pretty much mostly clean Plasma. Yes, I am using the Oxygen theme. I'm not using Breeze. Yes, I've made some minor changes like a minimal desktop indicator. I've changed the way that focus works, so it's not click to focus, it's hover to focus. But for the most part, it's just regular Plasma. And here's the thing. Up until this release, I've wanted to like Plasma. They've been doing amazing work. I love that Valve supports the project. I love that there's actually this inviting community around the project, and people are doing amazing things, new features being added, new amazing features being added. But when I was gaming, when I was watching YouTube, when I was just chilling on the machine, it was fine. Had a great experience. But as soon as I had to work, after a day, after a couple of days, after a week, for me personally, until this release, it became utterly miserable. I hated the experience, and I could not do it. There were hacky workarounds, but I didn't want to have to do them. Simply put, because of a problem that existed for about 20 years, the way that virtual workspaces function. So a virtual workspace is, this is workspace 1, I can open windows here, I can go to workspace 2, those windows stay open, I can open some stuff here, go to workspace 3, and then I can go back to 1, everything is still retained there. In prior versions of Plasma, they were virtual workspaces, not virtual desktops. So I would change from workspace 1 to workspace 2, and it would change on all of my monitors. That might not sound like that big of a deal for most people. For me, I just could not use it because I have my notes over here. I want my notes to always be visible. I have OBS over here. I want that to always be visible. I have a file manager here, and that has all of the videos that I'm recording. Now, I could just go and pin those windows. Absolutely. That would mostly solve the problem. But I don't always want the file manager to be pinned. I don't always want OBS to be pinned. I don't always want Alacrity to be pinned. I don't want to have it so they have to be pinned, because there are occasions where I want to go and open something on my second monitor. Let's say I want to just make sure like an address is not being shown before I bring it over to the main monitor for when I'm streaming. So being able to go and change the workspace independently on all of my monitors was absolutely critical to the way that I was doing things. And thankfully, if we go to virtual desktops right here, switch desktops independently for each screen, this feature completely changed my experience on Plasma. If you like workspaces, hey, keep using them. I am always going to have this toggled. Before I had this feature, yes, I had those workarounds, but I always thought, why am I bothering? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this when I can use literally any other environment? Even, I think, GNOME, maybe not, I'm pretty sure GNOME even, let me do this. I could use any window manager out there, and it was fine. So thank you. Thank you, whoever fixed this. Finally, this is great. This is my main reason for even being able to use Plasma now. Now, I don't want to spend too long on it because I did do a full video on Oxygen, but I'm really, really enjoying the Oxygen theme. Yes, I know people worked really hard on Breeze Dark, and I like Breeze Dark, but honestly, it's such a nice change to have something with some level of depth to it. Using gradients, having things where not everything is as flat as it can possibly be. And I know it's not perfect. I know there's a lot of things that still need to be worked on. Like this blur here, it's not a blur that's intended for oxygen yet. And yes, I know some people don't like the bar we have down here, but I'm really enjoying it. I really am. And I really love the icons as well. Everything about this is just, look, it's probably just nostalgia. I will fully admit that I probably like this purely based on nostalgia. But at the end of the day, it's my nostalgia. It's my nostalgia, and I'm gonna keep living it up. This is such a nice change from just the rest of the Linux ecosystem that it's this beacon in this world of darkness that you actually can do something different around all of these minimal themes. Again, it is very, very far from perfect. There is a lot of areas that I can very easily criticize. Like, this is a little bit jank as it is, but I still like it. I still really like it. And I recommend just, at a bare minimum, going and giving it a try. But it's still not perfect. And speaking of still not perfect, let's talk about some of the problems that I've come across. One of those is directly related to one of the major improvements. Virtual desktops, but specifically with the desktop indicators. So right now I'm using a plugin. This is the minimal desktop indicator. I can't fully blame Plasma for this. However, I'll show you a problem specifically in Plasma as well. If we go to Workspace 2, it swapped over to Workspace 2 on the indicator, but I'm not on Workspace 2 on Monitor 1. If I move the cursor back, now it says Workspace 1. Now 2, now 1, now 2, now 1. Because it seems to always be showing the focused monitor as the workspace in the plugin. And that makes sense for back in the day where, you know, it was the same thing. But it seems to not be able to separate that information source. Again, not exactly a problem with Plasma, assuming that the architecture is actually there to be able to handle that. Because if we use the actual Plasma one, that is this one right here, the pager, now we have a different problem. I've got this on desktop 1 on monitor 1. If we go to desktop 2, desktop 3, it is working just fine. But this shows a visual indication of the windows you currently have open. Right now, we only have one window open, so why is there 4 windows? Well, it's still operating as if it is a shared workspace. If I focus on this window, these are on my second monitor. But if I swap to desktop 2 on monitor 2, it doesn't actually change anything. So now I can have a situation like this where I'm focused on a window on a desktop that the pager thinks is not selected, which obviously is wrong. Currently, this pager doesn't acknowledge the fact that you can have things separated out. You don't have to have one virtual workspace. Unsurprisingly, there are teething issues. This virtual desktop thing, this is a very new feature. I would have been surprised if it was working perfectly on first release, but I do expect it to get dealt with at some point. On to another thing, I've only started noticing in this version, maybe it was in prior versions, I don't know, and you're probably not going to see it in the video, but I've noticed what appears to be very, very minor frame drops on the cursor changing, on little animations happening. It's not like a major thing, but it's like 1 or 2 frames dropped here and there. It's this sort of micro stutter. It's not happening right now, but I've had it happen so many times before, and I thought I was going insane, but other people are noticing the exact same thing. The cause and the fix isn't entirely clear, but there is something there. I don't think we're all going insane. Some people are suggesting turning off the hardware cursor, so maybe that fixes it. To be fair, there are other problems with the the hardware cursor as well. If I go and open this, and then I do a little zoom in over here, you are probably going to notice that the cursor is not on the close button, even though I have it on the close button, right now capturing the cursor when you're zoomed in breaks a little bit. Another issue is the animation speed. So you might have noticed that I'm using fade. There is a very good reason that I'm using fade. If I don't use fade, it genuinely makes me ill looking at Plasma. I don't know why they made this change. People have already reported the problem. Whether or not it's going to get fixed is a whole nother question. I have the animation speed set 1 notch before instant, okay? It's fine with fading. If I go back to this and we change this from fade to slide, apologies for anyone who has any sort of motion sensitivity, because it now looks like this. That might be fine for some people, but this is way too slow. This is probably half the speed it should be at. I legitimately cannot use this for more than, I don't know, 5 minutes without immediately wanting to turn Plasma off. Here is the bug report in question. Animation speed slider has less choices, 2 slow animations. This change was made on purpose. The reason for that is the old slider had a bunch of extra notches and the math for it was considerably more complicated. The issue is when they changed the new system, they didn't keep the same top speed, so now the speed that it's at just before instant is what used to be the speed at around the middle point. So it is entirely broken from what was previously done, but it seems to be an issue with the refresh rate of the monitor. On low refresh rate screens, it works totally fine. On 144Hz, or in my case, I have 165Hz, or I think 180 actually. 180 on this monitor. It's way slower than it should be. If it is slower at 180Hz, if you happen to have, I don't know, a 500Hz monitor, let me know how slow it gets, because if the animation speed is actually slowing down based on the refresh rate and is going to get slower and slower as you go higher, that's clearly a bug, right? Like, I get lowering the top speed, that's fine, but the speed should be independent of the refresh rate. Now, there is a fix, although it doesn't work consistently. You can run kwrite config 6 -- key animation duration factor and then whatever you want it to be. If we set that, it is now considerably faster. This is about the speed things used to be. However, I have noticed that sometimes it doesn't actually set it. Also, it's annoying that you have to go and run a command for something that should just be an option on the slider. When it works, this is great. I am totally happy to use this. But when it stops working, well, I've got to go back to fade. I don't know why it sometimes just stops working. I don't know if something in the background is messing with the animation speed or what's going on, or it doesn't actually properly get set. I don't know. I don't know why. Now, this one I don't know how to replicate because I don't know what caused it to happen, but sometimes between the header of the application and the application window, there is a single high line of just garbled, randomly colored pixels. Usually it disappears after just dragging the application or reopening the application, things like that. But just a single line here. I've seen someone else report this. I don't know what the cause is. It's not related to Oxygen. I've seen people have it on Breeze as well. There seems to be some sort of minor rendering bug happening. On the topic of minor annoying bugs, whilst I have hover to focus, there is a problem with hover to focus. If I hover over the window, totally fine. If I hover over the header, for some reason, the header is not considered part of the application for the sake of focus. If I click it, it's fine. But hover to focus should hover to focus. Why it's not, I don't know. That's probably not even a new bug. It's probably been there for a long time, and I'm only just now noticing it. On the topic of just now noticing, on the right-hand side of the screen, you might see a bit of a glow. On the left-hand side, you might see a glow, and now left-hand bottom. There's a good reason for that. A long time ago, Plasma decided that a window can be rendered on more than one monitor at a time. If we take this window and I put it between these two monitors, I'm seeing it on my middle monitor and my left-hand monitor. If I take this window and stretch it all the way over here, I'm now seeing it on my left-hand monitor, middle monitor, and my right-hand monitor. This is fine. This allows you to do a lot of things which otherwise wouldn't be possible. On a desktop like Cosmic, Windows can only be on a single monitor at a time. If you take it between that monitor border, it is going to stop rendering on the first monitor it was on. That's a problem, but it also avoids a problem happening. What this glow is the glow from the focused window on my right-hand monitor. This glow is the glow from the window on my left-hand monitor. It's a very minor issue, and I never noticed it before because I wasn't using glow for window focus. And when I was just using a line, it sort of like blended in with the edge of the screen. Now that it's a glow and now that it spreads out, you do kind of see it a little bit more. Is it a problem? Not really. It's such a minor inconvenience. I would like it if it didn't happen, but I'm probably the only person that actually cares. Less of a problem, more of a minor inconvenience if you make use of a game controller. This is my 8BitDo controller. Anything is going to work. Why did it turn the lights on? There we go. Make sure in the game controller set... Why is it set to sound? I don't have that... Okay, that's a weird bug. Make sure you have allow using as pointer and keyboard disabled. As of 6.7.1, it will be disabled by default. If it is not disabled and you are playing a video game, it's still going to try to emulate the mouse. And this guy had it where the left stick, which is often used for moving, was acting like the mouse. The left stick is for moving, the mouse is often used for controlling the camera. So basically, every time he moved, the camera would spin. Not ideal, but it is turned off by default now. If it ever comes back on, or for whatever reason it is turned on, make sure you turn it off if you do game. Oh, I see what the bug is. If you don't have a game controller plugged in, it removes the option from the menu, so it drops you down to the previous option, but it keeps it selected. I actually didn't even know that problem was there. Huh. I wonder if anyone else has spotted that one. I plugged the controller in this time, it didn't work. That's... Okay, there we go. Okay. Very weird problem. Don't know why that happens. While some of these things are annoying, none of these are deal breakers. Now, there are some things I would like to see added. One of those is teleport cursor to monitor. If I press Super and Tab, that is going to move my focus over to the next monitor. If I press it again, it's going to move it to the next monitor after that. If I then do Super F5, then it jumps my cursor. On something like Neri, on Hyperland, on Awesome, on i3, there is a binding to do both those actions at the same time. So jump to monitor and jump focus together. Having to do it as separate bindings is not the end of the world. It's just a little bit annoying. Theoretically, there should be a way to do it. So what you theoretically should be able to do, I say theoretically for a good reason, is run this. This looks like a really long set of commands. It's not that crazy, actually. Basically, what you are doing here is telling QDBus to run this binding. So run the binding, switch to next screen, and then run the binding, move cursor to center. The problem is running this binding with QDBus with multiple monitors doesn't actually work. Why it doesn't work? I don't know. Probably because nobody runs things directly with QDBus. Maybe, just maybe, there is a way to do it with KWin scripting. I've not looked into doing that. I need to do so at some point. If anyone has a solution, if somebody can point me to a solution, I would love to see it. One more very minor thing is I would like there to be a separation between the system tray applications I have and the system tray components that are a core part of Plasma. I would like there to be like a little separator between them. I just realized you're not seeing them. I'd like there to be a little separator between them. Always have the apps on the left-hand side. And to the best of my knowledge, with the standard sys tray, there's not a way to do that. It's not a big deal. It's such a minor problem. And I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking with some of these problems, because frankly, I am, because that's kind of the state Plasma is in. I had one crash once, like, at the start. I don't know what caused it. Ever since then, and it wasn't even a full crash. It was just a desktop crash, and then things immediately recovered like 5 seconds later, and I went about my day. Overall, I am really, really happy with the state of modern KDE. I love it. I actually do. This is a desktop environment that I could see myself just basically staying on. Now, I do want to do some more Neri stuff. I eventually want to do some more Hyperland stuff. There are other environments I do want to mess with and just haven't gotten around to it, like Mango WC and various other things out there. But it's nice to have a DE that I think is actually good. But let me know your thoughts. Have you tried out modern KDE Plasma? What is your experience with it? Are you enjoying it? Or is it something where you still feel like it is horribly broken, it's impossible to use, and it's just terrible? I'd love to know. So if you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well. Hit the hype button if you're on mobile, and if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to Liberapay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and 6, 7... We're done with that.